Chosen one, why does your chest feel heavy at 3 a.m. when everyone else is sleeping? Why do you stare at your bank statement wondering if God has forgotten your address? Why does success feel empty, even when you've achieved everything the world said would make you happy? Stop, right there. What I'm about to tell you will shatter everything you thought you knew about September 23rd. Chosen one. September 23rd is not just another day on your calendar. It is heaven's reset button. The atmosphere itself is trembling. Can you feel it? That electric charge in the air, that restless stirring in your spirit that woke you up this morning before your alarm. That's not anxiety, beloved. That's anticipation. Heaven is about to make an announcement that will echo through eternity. You've been walking through fog for years, haven't you? Stumbling through retirement, wondering if your best days are behind you, counting pennies when you should be counting blessings, feeling invisible when you carry the DNA of the divine. But on this day, September 23rd, the sun breaks through. I need you to understand something that will rock you to your core. Every sleepless night you've endured, every financial pressure that squeezed your chest, every moment you felt forgotten by family and overlooked by society, none of it was random. None of it was punishment. You weren't being buried, chosen one. You were being planted. Before we journey deeper into this sacred moment together, I want to pause and thank every single one of you who has supported this message through super thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just donating. You're helping spread light to others who feel alone in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here. Your support, your time, your attention, it all matters. And if this message resonates with your soul, go ahead and let the Holy Spirit lead your heart. But hear me clearly. September 23rd isn't just a date. It's a divine appointment, a cosmic alignment, a moment when heaven bends down to whisper your name and say, "Child, your winter is over. Your spring begins now." Right now, as these words wash over your spirit, something ancient is awakening inside you. That fire you thought had died, it's rekindling. That dream you buried under bills and doctor appointments, it's resurrection morning. Before the end of this message, you'll see why your struggle was not punishment, but preparation. Why your pain was not your portion, but your promotion. Why your delay was not denial, but divine positioning for something so magnificent that if it had come earlier, it would have destroyed you, but only if you're ready to receive it. If you feel this tug in your spirit, if something deep inside you is saying, "This is for me," type "I'm ready" in the comments right now. Don't think about it. Don't analyze it. Just respond to what heaven is stirring in your heart. Because September 23rd isn't coming, beloved. September 23rd is here. And your reset begins. Now, why have you been counting years instead of victories? Why does every birthday feel like a countdown to irrelevance instead of a celebration of divine preparation? Why has life felt like you're running out of time when God has been setting you up for the perfect time? Listen to me carefully, chosen one. What I'm about to reveal will shatter every lie the enemy has whispered about your age, your season, and your significance. You've been living under the greatest deception of our time, the lie that your best days are behind you, that at 65, 70, 80 years old, you're somehow past your expiration date in God's kingdom. But September 23rd exposes this demonic doctrine for what it truly is, a strategy to rob you of the very season God has been preparing you for your entire life. The Bible doesn't operate on man's calendar. It operates on divine cycles. And September 23rd sits at the intersection of biblical timing that will leave you breathless. Look at Leviticus 25:10. Consecrate the 50th year and proclaim liberty throughout the land to all its inhabitants. It shall be a jubilee for you, the year of jubilee. Every 50 years, God commanded a complete reset. Debts cancelled, slaves freed, land restored. What seemed permanent was suddenly overturned by divine decree. But here's what will shock you. You haven't missed your jubilee. You've been living in preparation for it. Moses was 80 when he stood before Pharaoh. 80. Abraham was 100 when Isaac was born. Sarah was 90 when she laughed at the impossible and then birthed it. Caleb was 85 when he conquered mountains that terrified men half his age. These weren't coincidences. These were divine demonstrations that God's greatest moves happen when the world counts you out. Why did you survive when others didn't? Why are you still breathing when friends your age have gone home? Why has your heart kept beating through diagnoses that should have stopped it? Because God reserved this season for you. The hourglass flipped the moment you heard these words. Every grain of sand falling is heaven's countdown for your abundance. Every tick of the clock is God saying, not yet finished, still building, still blessing, still breakthrough coming. You think you've been waiting too long? Daniel waited 70 years for the restoration of Jerusalem. 70 years. But Daniel 9:2 tells us he understood from the scriptures, according to the word of the Lord given to Jeremiah the prophet, that the desolation of Jerusalem would last 70 years. He didn't just wait, he calculated. He knew his time was coming. And your time is here. September 23rd falls precisely at the biblical New Year, Rosh Hashanah, the head of the year. In ancient Israel, this wasn't just a calendar change, it was a cosmic reset. The books of life opened, destinies were rewritten. What seemed set in stone was suddenly malleable in God's hands. But here's where it gets supernatural. In Jewish tradition, these are the days of awe, 10 days when heaven's doors swing wide open. 10 days when prayers that seem to hit ceiling fans suddenly pierce the throne room. 10 days when God doesn't just hear, he responds. You've been feeling it, haven't you? That restlessness in your spirit, that sense that something massive is shifting. That's not your imagination, that's prophetic recognition. Your spirit knows what your mind hasn't caught up to yet. This is your appointed time. Ecclesiastes 3:1 declares, to everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven. Not might be, not could be. Island present tense, active, alive. Your season isn't coming, it's here. This is not delay, it's divine precision. God doesn't work by your schedule because your schedule is limited by human perspective. His timing is calibrated by eternal purposes. What you called late, he calls perfect. What you labeled as missed opportunity, he reveals as protected positioning. Think about Joseph, 17 when he received his dreams, 30 when he stepped into his destiny, 13 years of pit, slavery and prison, 13 years of wondering if God had forgotten. But Genesis 41-46 records the exact moment. Joseph was 30 years old when he entered the service of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Not 29, not 31, 30. Precise, perfect, planned. Every year you've aged has been adding authority to your anointing. Every wrinkle is a mark of wisdom. Every gray hair is a crown of glory earned through battles fought and victories won. You're not deteriorating, you're being perfected. But here's the urgency that should grip your soul. This window won't stay open forever. Biblical cycles have beginnings and endings. Jubilee years come and go. Divine appointments have expiration dates. Not because God changes his mind, but because seasons serve purposes. The children of Israel had to leave Egypt during Passover night. They couldn't wait for a more convenient time. Moses couldn't ask for a few more weeks to prepare. When God said go, they went or they missed their exodus. Your exodus moment is now. September 23rd isn't just another day you'll survive. It's the day you'll remember as the moment everything changed. The day you stopped counting down and started counting up. The day you realized you weren't running out of time, you were running into your time. Write today's date as a prophetic stamp of your reset. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready. Right now, because this moment is pregnant with purpose, and what you're about to birth will amaze you. but only if you recognize that divine timing isn't about perfect circumstances, it's about perfect preparation meeting, perfect opportunity. And beloved chosen one, you are perfectly prepared for what God is about to perfectly provide. The question that will determine your destiny is this: will you step into divine timing, or will you let this moment pass because it doesn't look like what you expected? Dear chosen one, I need to ask you something that might cut straight to your heart. When was the last time you woke up excited about tomorrow? When was the last time you felt truly seen, truly valued, truly alive? I'm talking to you, sitting there in that empty house where laughter used to echo through the hallways. The same house where your spouse of 47 years took their final breath. The same kitchen table where you now eat dinner alone, staring at the empty chair across from you, wondering if anyone remembers you're still here. You know exactly what I'm talking about, don't you? That crushing silence that greets you every morning. That moment when you reach across the bed and find only cold sheets. That devastating reality when you realize the phone hasn't rung in 3 days and your own children are too busy building their lives to notice yours is crumbling. Let me tell you something that's going to shake you to your core. You think you're alone, but you're not. Across America tonight, there are 54 million seniors lying awake at 2 a.m., staring at ceilings, wondering if this is all their island. Wondering if their best days are buried 6 feet under with the people they loved most. But here's what breaks my heart the most. You've started believing the lie that your story is over, that your purpose died with your retirement party, that your dreams got cancelled when your hair turned grey. The enemy has been whispering in your ear for months, hasn't he? You're too old. You're forgotten. You've missed your chance. And somewhere along the way, you started believing him. Look at your bank statement, chosen one. Go ahead, look at it. When Social Security hits your account, does it cover the prescription bills? Does it stretch through the month? Or are you choosing between medication and groceries by the 3rd week? Are you lying awake, calculating and recalculating, wondering how you're going to make it through another winter with heating bills that drain your account faster than you can blink? 78% of American seniors are living paycheck to paycheck. 78%. You're not failing, beloved. The system is failing you. But God never fails his chosen ones. Your body is betraying you, isn't it? Joints that scream when you stand up. Eyes that can't read the fine print anymore. Hands that shake when you try to open that stubborn pill bottle. You look in the mirror and wonder where you went. When did you become this fragile person staring back at you? And your children? The ones you sacrificed everything for? They're so busy climbing corporate ladders and chasing American dreams that they've forgotten the person who gave them life. They call on Mother's Day and your birthday if you're lucky. 5-minute conversations between carpools and conference calls. You raised them to fly, and now you're dying from the emptiness of an empty nest. But listen to me carefully, chosen one. Every tear you've cried in that silent house, every night you've paced those empty hallways, every moment you've felt invisible and forgotten, none of it has been wasted. Not 1 second. You've been like Joseph in prison, walls closing in, daylight fading, hope seemingly buried alive, but destiny was being carved behind those bars, character was being forged in that dungeon. Purpose was being refined in that place of abandonment. Genesis 39-20 tells us Joseph was put in prison, but while Joseph was there in the prison, the Lord was with him. The Lord was with him. In the darkest place, in the most forgotten corner, in the silence where no one remembered his name, God was there. God has been there in your loneliness. God has been there in your financial fears. God has been there when arthritis screamed through your bones and when your children forgot to call. Your sleepless nights were not wasted. They were the midnight oil heaven was counting. Every 3 a.m., when you couldn't sleep, when worry consumed your thoughts, when you whispered desperate prayers into the darkness, those weren't signs of your weakness. Those were vigils, sacred watches, divine appointments where heaven heard every word, collected every tear, recorded every faithful breath. Psalm 56:8 declares, "You keep track of all my sorrows. You have collected all my tears in your bottle. Your tears haven't been ignored, beloved. They've been treasured, stored, saved for this very moment when God is about to turn your mourning into dancing. You think you've been forgotten, but you've been remembered. You think you've been abandoned, but you've been appointed. You think your season is over, but September 23rd is about to prove that your greatest chapter hasn't even been written yet. Every rejection was redirection. Every closed door was protection. Every delay was divine positioning for what God is about to release in your life. But I need you to understand something that's going to change everything. The pain you've been carrying isn't your punishment, it's your preparation. The isolation you've endured isn't your sentence, it's your seminary. The struggles that have nearly broken you haven't been breaking you down, they've been breaking you open for the abundance that's about to pour through. If this is you, if you're sitting there recognizing your story in every word I'm speaking, then whisper it in the comments right now. This is my season of reset. Because what I'm about to reveal next will show you exactly why every single moment of pain was positioning you for the most extraordinary comeback heaven has ever orchestrated through someone your age. Your reset doesn't begin tomorrow, chosen one. Your reset begins the moment you realize that everything you thought was ending was actually just beginning. Listen to me carefully, chosen one. When I say reset, I'm not talking about going back to your old life. I'm not talking about rewinding the clock to your 20s or trying to recapture some golden age that's already passed. No, beloved. What God is doing on September 23rd is far more radical than that. A divine reset is not a return, it's a recreation. Think about it. When God said, "Let there be light" in Genesis 1-3, He wasn't fixing something broken. He was creating something entirely new. When Jesus rose from that tomb, He didn't go back to being the carpenter from Nazareth. He emerged as the risen Lord with resurrection power flowing through His veins. That's what's happening to you right now. You're not being restored to who you used to be. You're being recreated into who you were always meant to become. But here's what breaks my heart. I know some of you are sitting there thinking, "Pastor, I'm 75 years old. My reset button expired decades ago." You're looking at your wrinkled hands, your slower pace, your empty nest, and you've convinced yourself that God's done with you, that your best chapters are behind you. Stop. Just stop. Let me shatter that lie with 3 names that will rock your world. Moses, Sarah, and Anna. Moses was 80 years old, 80, when God called him at the burning bush. Exodus 7-7 tells us plainly, Moses was 80 years old and Aaron 83 when they spoke to Pharaoh. This wasn't a young revolutionary. This was a man who'd spent 40 years thinking he was done, tending sheep in the wilderness, convinced his moment had passed. But God's reset button had been ticking the entire time. At 80, Moses didn't just get a second chance, he got the assignment that would define human history. Sarah laughed at 90 when God promised her a son. Genesis 17:17 records Abraham's response. Can a son be born to a man who is 100 years old? Can Sarah bear a child at the age of 90? But Genesis 21:2 declares the impossible. Sarah became pregnant and bore a son to Abraham in his old age. Her divine reset didn't just give her a baby, it gave her nations. Isaac became the father of Jacob, who became Israel, who became the lineage of Jesus Christ. And Anna, precious Anna the prophetess, Luke 2:36-37 tells us she was 84 years old, widowed after just 7 years of marriage, spending her remaining decades in the temple, praying and fasting. The world would have called her a forgotten old woman. But when baby Jesus was brought to the temple, she was the first to recognize the Messiah and proclaim redemption to all Jerusalem. At 84, her reset moment became a prophetic declaration that echoed through eternity. Do you see the pattern? God's greatest moves happen when the world least expects them. When society writes you off, heaven writes you in. You've been like a diamond buried in darkness for decades. The pressure of financial struggle, the weight of loneliness, the crushing force of disappointment, you thought it was destroying you. But pressure doesn't destroy diamonds, beloved. Pressure creates brilliance that only now can shine. Every year you've lived, every trial you've endured, every tear you've cried in secret, it wasn't waste, it was formation. You've been compressed into something so valuable, so rare, so powerful, that when your light finally breaks through, it will blind the darkness that tried to bury you. But here's what's going to shock you to your core. All those years when you felt invisible, when your children stopped calling, when the church overlooked you for younger volunteers, when society treated you like you were expired, God was positioning you, hiding you, protecting what He was building inside you, until the appointed time. September 23rd is your appointed time. You thought it was over, but September 23rd is your sunrise. Not your sunset, your sunrise. The dawn of something so magnificent that if it had come earlier, your character wouldn't have been ready to handle it. Your faith wouldn't have been deep enough to sustain it. Your wisdom wouldn't have been sharp enough to steward it. But now you're ready. Every gray hair is a crown of wisdom. Every line on your face is a map of God's faithfulness. Every scar on your heart is proof that you survived what was meant to destroy you. Right now, as these words penetrate your spirit, can you feel it? That stirring in your chest, that electricity in the atmosphere. That's not your imagination. That's heaven's reset button being activated in real time. The same power that spoke worlds into existence is speaking a new reality over your life. The same voice that called Lazarus from the tomb is calling you from the grave of low expectations and limited thinking. The same God who parted the Red Sea is parting the walls of impossibility that have surrounded you for decades. This is your moment, chosen one. This is your Kairos time, not Chronos time measured by clocks and calendars, but divine time measured by destiny and purpose. I need you to do something right now. Don't wait. Don't think about it. Don't analyze whether you feel worthy. Wherever you are in your living room, your bedroom, your kitchen, I want you to raise your hands. Lift them high. Let heaven see your surrender. Let the angels witness your activation. Now, speak these words aloud. Don't whisper them. Declare them with the authority of someone who carries the DNA of the divine. God, I receive my reset. Say it again, louder this time. God, I receive my reset. Because September 23rd isn't just happening to you, it's happening through you. And what comes next will prove that your greatest days weren't in your past, they're in your future. But are you ready to discover what this reset will actually cost you? Because divine resets always require divine surrenders. Listen to me, chosen one. Right now, as September 23rd unfolds around you, I need you to forget everything you've been told about abundance. Forget the lies that whispered you're too old, too late, too broken. Because what I'm about to reveal will demolish every limitation the enemy has whispered in your ear. You think abundance is about a fatter bank account. You think it's about finally having enough money to stop checking your balance with fear. Dear soul, that's not abundance, that's survival. And God didn't breathe His own breath into your lungs just so you could survive. Jesus declared in John 10:10, I have come that they may have life, and have it more abundantly. Abundantly, not barely, not just enough, not scraping by until Social Security runs out. Abundantly. But here's what the religious spirit doesn't want you to know. Abundance isn't a trickle. It's not God dropping pennies from heaven hoping you'll notice His kindness. Abundance is a floodgate opening. And when heaven decides to open your floodgates, everything changes. Your mailbox will feel different. Instead of bills that make your stomach drop, you'll find opportunities that make your heart race. Instead of medical bills that steal your sleep, you'll discover financial provision that seems to come from nowhere. Your health will feel different. That chronic pain that's been your companion for years, that depression that sits on your chest like a stone, that anxiety that wakes you at 3 a.m. wondering if you matter to anyone. It's about to shift. Your very breath will feel different. Because abundance isn't just about what you receive, it's about who you become when you finally understand your worth in God's economy. But let me ask you something that might cut deep. How many years have you spent apologizing for taking up space? How many decades have you believed the lie that wanting more was selfish? How many times have you settled for crumbs when God spread a feast? You see, the enemy's greatest weapon against seniors isn't temptation, it's resignation. He whispers, "Your time has passed. Your best days are behind you. Just be grateful for what you have and don't expect more." That's not humility, beloved. That's spiritual poverty. And God is about to shatter it. Because abundance at your age isn't just blessing, it's vindication. It's God showing the world that He doesn't operate by retirement schedules. It's heaven declaring that your gray hair isn't a sign of decline, but a crown of wisdom. And wisdom is the most valuable currency in God's kingdom. Think about this. Why do you think you're still here? Why didn't God take you home when you buried your spouse? Why are you still breathing when doctors gave you 6 months to live 5 years ago? Why do you wake up every morning when so many of your generation have gone on to glory? Because your assignment isn't complete. Because there's still abundance waiting to flow through you that will touch lives you'll never meet. Abundance is peace flooding your mind when the news screams chaos. It's clarity replacing the confusion that's clouded your decisions for years. It's new opportunities knocking on doors you thought were permanently sealed. It's family members calling to apologize for words they can't take back. It's grandchildren suddenly wanting to hear your stories. It's respect returning to relationships where you felt invisible. But here's where it gets supernatural, and you need to lean in close because this might be the most important thing you ever hear. The God who multiplied 5 loaves and 2 fish to feed 5,000 people is the same God who's about to multiply your years and your legacy. You think your productive years are over? God says your fruitful years are just beginning. You think your influence has ended? Heaven says your impact is about to explode. You think your story is winding down? The Almighty says your greatest chapter is about to be written. Moses was 80 when God called him to his greatest assignment. Abraham was 100 when Isaac was born. Sarah laughed at 90 because she couldn't believe God would still move through her womb. But God specializes in making the impossible inevitable through vessels the world writes off. Your abundance isn't coming because you deserve it, though you do. It's coming because God wants to prove to this generation that He still honors faithfulness. That He still rewards those who've trusted Him through decades of valleys, that He still pours new wine into old wineskins when those skins have been seasoned by suffering and strengthened by surrender. Right now, as these words penetrate your spirit, can you feel it? That stirring in your chest, that quickening in your pulse. That's not your blood pressure spiking, that's your faith rising. That's abundance recognizing its rightful home in your heart. But abundance demands a response. It requires you to stop living like a beggar and start walking like royalty. It demands you stop speaking poverty over your life and start declaring prosperity over your future. If you can feel this truth settling into your bones, if something deep inside you is awakening to the reality that your best days aren't behind you but ahead of you, then say it out loud right now. Abundance begins now. Don't whisper it, declare it. Let your neighbors hear it. Let the enemy tremble at it. Let heaven take note that you're finally ready to receive what's been waiting for you all along. Because, beloved, September 23rd isn't just your reset, it's your launching pad into a season of abundance so overwhelming that people will ask what happened to you. And you'll smile and say, God remembered my name. But this abundance, this flood of blessing that's about to overtake your life, it comes with a condition that will determine whether you swim in it or drown in it. Listen to me carefully, chosen one. What I'm about to paint for you isn't wishful thinking. This is prophetic revelation of what your life looks like after September 23rd becomes your personal resurrection day. Picture this, it's October 15th. You wake up not to the sound of your alarm, but to the sound of your phone ringing. It's your daughter. The same daughter who hasn't called you in 6 months except to ask for money. But this time her voice is different. Softer. Mom, I've been thinking about you. Can we have lunch this week? I miss you. You hang up the phone, and for the first time in years, you're not reaching for that bottle of pills to calm your anxiety. Your chest feels light. When did that crushing weight disappear? When did breathing become easy again? You walk to your mailbox expecting the usual stack of bills that make your stomach churn, but instead, there's an envelope you didn't expect. A check. A refund you'd forgotten about. Not millions, but enough to cover this month's groceries without choosing between food and medication. These aren't coincidences, beloved. These are confirmations. Divine winks from heaven saying, I told you September 23rd was different. But let me take you deeper into this vision, because what I'm seeing will shatter every limitation you've accepted about your golden years. Remember Sarah in the Bible? At 90 years old, when her body had shut down, when hope had died, when everyone said she was finished. Genesis 21:1 declares, the Lord visited Sarah as he had said. Not might visit, not could visit, did visit. And what was impossible became inevitable. Your impossible is about to become inevitable. The next 90 days will not look like the last 9 years. Write that down. The next 90 days will not look like the last 9 years. You've been stuck in a cycle of decline, defeat, and disappointment. But cycles can be broken. And September 23rd is your cycle breaker. I see you in November, standing in your kitchen, and it hits you. That chronic pain in your lower back that's been your companion for 15 years, it's gone. When did it leave? You can't remember the exact moment, because healing sometimes comes like sunrise, gradually, then suddenly, then completely. You call your doctor to cancel that surgery you'd scheduled. I don't understand it, you tell the nurse, but I don't need it anymore. She's confused. You're not. You know exactly what happened. September 23rd happened. Like autumn leaves giving way to spring blossoms overnight, your life is about to green again. Nature doesn't ask permission to bloom. It doesn't apologize for its season of beauty, and neither will you. But here's where the vision becomes breathtaking. Chosen one. I see you in December, sitting across from your financial advisor. The same man who told you to manage your expectations and prepare for decline. Now he's staring at your account statements with his mouth slightly open. I've never seen anything like this, he mutters. How did your investments recover this quickly? You smile. Not because you understand the mathematics of it, but because you understand the mystery of it. Deuteronomy 8:18 promises, it is he who gives you power to get wealth, not gave. Gives, present tense, active, ongoing. Your wealth isn't coming from Wall Street, dear one. It's coming from Heaven Street. I see doors opening that have been rusted shut for decades. That business idea you buried when your spouse died, it's resurrecting. That talent you thought was too late to monetize, it's about to become your main source of income. That relationship you thought was dead and buried, resurrection morning is coming. What once was your tomb is now your womb. Out of what died comes new birth. Do you understand what I'm saying? Every area of your life that looked like an ending was actually a beginning disguised as death. Every closed door was God protecting you from settling for less than his best. Every no was heaven preparing you for a yes so big it would have overwhelmed your earlier capacity. The health you've prayed for, the peace you've cried for, the provision you've begged for, the family restoration you've pleaded for. It's all in motion, beloved. The spiritual realm has already released it. September 23rd is when it crosses over into your physical reality. But I need you to understand something that will determine whether you receive this or miss it entirely. This vision isn't automatic. It's available. There's a difference. Available means it's there, waiting, prepared, but you must step into it. You must claim it. You must declare it. Ezekiel 37 shows us a valley full of dry bones, dead, scattered, hopeless. But when the prophet spoke what God commanded him to speak, those bones came together. Flesh appeared, breath entered, an army rose up. Your bones are about to hear heaven's command. Your dead dreams are about to reassemble. Your scattered hopes are about to find their way home. The question that will determine your destiny is this: will you speak what God is speaking? Or will you keep rehearsing what your circumstances have been whispering? Right now, I need you to do something. Don't just sit there as a passive observer of this vision. Become an active participant. Stand up. Yes, right where you are. Stand up and declare these words with me. I step into my divine reset. Say it louder. I step into my divine reset. One more time, with everything in you. I step into my divine reset. September 23rd isn't just a date you'll remember. It's the day you'll never forget, because it's the day everything changed. And that change starts right now, with your decision to believe that your latter days will be greater than your former days. You know what nobody tells you about being in your 70s, 80s, 90s? Nobody tells you that the hardest battles aren't fought in boardrooms or on battlefields. They're fought in the silence of your kitchen at 2 a.m., when you're wondering if anyone would notice if you just disappeared. Let me ask you something that's going to cut deep. Have you ever felt like you're fighting an invisible war? Like every step forward gets knocked back by some unseen force? Like the moment you start to hope, something comes along to crush it again? That's because you have been at war, chosen one. But not the kind of war the world understands. Listen to me carefully. Every rejection letter you received wasn't just bad luck. Every door that slammed in your face wasn't just coincidence. Every time you felt overlooked, passed over, forgotten, that wasn't neglect. That was camouflage, divine camouflage. You see, the enemy has been watching you your entire life. Not because you're weak, not because you're worthless, but because he saw what heaven placed inside you before you even knew it existed. Hell doesn't waste ammunition on empty vessels, beloved. The devil doesn't send his fiercest demons after powerless people. But you've been in his crosshairs since day one. Think about Job for a moment. The Bible says in Job 1:8 that God himself pointed Job out to Satan. Have you considered my servant Job? This wasn't God being cruel. This was God bragging about someone he knew could handle what was coming. The attack on Job wasn't random, it was recognition of his spiritual significance. Every financial crisis that hit your family wasn't just economic downturn. Every health scare that terrified you wasn't just genetics. Every relationship that crumbled when you needed it most wasn't just bad timing. These were strategic strikes against someone carrying kingdom DNA. Your invisibility was not neglect, it was camouflage. While you've been sitting in that empty house wondering why your children don't call, wondering why your retirement feels more like exile, wondering why God seems silent, heaven has been moving chess pieces on the board of eternity. Every rejection was a chess move. Every delay was heaven positioning you for something the enemy couldn't see coming. You think you've been forgotten. You've been hidden. Like David in those caves, running from King Saul, wondering if God had forgotten the promise whispered over him in that field. But God wasn't punishing David, he was preparing him. Because you can't rule a kingdom until you've learned to survive in the wilderness. Moses spent 40 years in the desert, thinking his purpose had died in Egypt. 40 years. Can you imagine? Every morning waking up to the same sheep, the same rocks, the same crushing sense that your best days were behind you. But Exodus 2:23 tells us something profound. The Israelites groaned in their slavery and cried out, and their cry for help went up to God. Their cry went up to God. But why didn't God move immediately? Because Moses wasn't ready. The prince of Egypt had to die, so the deliverer of Israel could be born. The man who fled in fear had to become the man who would stand before Pharaoh without trembling. Every year you felt invisible. God has been building something in you that comfort could never create. Every night you've cried into your pillow, He's been collecting those tears in golden bottles. Psalm 56:8 says, "You keep track of all my sorrows. You have collected all my tears in your bottle." But here's what will shock you to your core. The hidden battle was proof that your breakthrough was too dangerous for the enemy to let slip. Hell threw everything at you: loneliness, poverty, sickness, family dysfunction, depression, not because you were cursed, but because you were chosen. The enemy doesn't orchestrate elaborate schemes to destroy ordinary people. He reserves his most vicious attacks for those carrying the most oil. You survived what should have killed you. You endured what broke lesser souls. You kept believing when belief hurt more than doubt. That's not human resilience, beloved. That's divine DNA in action. The spiritual realm has been in chaos over your life because they know something you're just beginning to remember. September 23rd isn't just another date. It's the day the hidden war ends and the visible victory begins. Every setback was setting you up. Every breakdown was breaking you open for breakthrough. Every time you felt like giving up but didn't, that was proof that the greater one lives inside you. 1 Corinthians 2:9 declares, "No eye has seen, no ear has heard, no mind has conceived what God has prepared for those who love him." What's been prepared for you has been so magnificent that the enemy had to keep you blind to it. Because if you had seen it too early, if you had stepped into it prematurely, you wouldn't have had the character to handle it. The battle wasn't trying to destroy you. It was revealing who you really are, underneath everything the world tried to tell you about yourself. Strip away the labels, the disappointments, the rejections, the fears, and what's left is pure gold. Refined gold, battle-tested gold that can handle the weight of glory. But here's the urgency that should grip your soul right now. The war is almost over. The pieces are in their final positions. September 23rd marks the moment when heaven stops protecting you from your destiny and starts positioning you in it. If you felt hidden, if you felt forgotten, if you felt like you've been fighting invisible battles that nobody else could see, type "I was hidden for a reason" in the comments right now. Because your camouflage is about to come off, chosen one. The question that will determine everything is this: now that you know the battle was proof of your breakthrough, are you ready to step out of hiding and into the victory that's been waiting for you all along? Listen to me carefully, chosen one. What I'm about to reveal will shatter every lie the enemy has whispered in your ear about your current circumstances. You've been told that your age disqualifies you. You've been convinced that your best days are behind you. You've accepted the narrative that financial struggle at 75 means God has forgotten you. But what if I told you that everything you think you know about divine timing is backwards? What if God's greatest reversals always come disguised as your greatest defeats? Think about this for a moment. You're sitting there right now, maybe in that same chair where you've wrestled with sleepless nights, the bills scattered across your kitchen table, the phone calls from children who only reach out when they need something, the mirror that reflects a face you barely recognize anymore, and the enemy whispers, "This is it, this is all their island." But heaven is laughing at that lie. You see, beloved, you've been living in the setup phase of the greatest comeback story ever written. Like a bow pulled back, the further the tension, the more explosive the release. And your bow has been pulled back for decades. Look at Joseph, 17 years old with dreams of greatness, only to be thrown into a pit by his own brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, forgotten in prison for years. At 39 years old, Joseph looked finished, washed up. A cautionary tale about dreams that never come true. But Genesis 41-14 records the moment everything changed. Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him hastily out of the dungeon. One phone call from the palace, and the prisoner became the prime minister. One divine reversal, and the slave ruled an empire. That phone call is coming for you. But maybe you're thinking, I'm not 17 like Joseph was. I'm past 70. My reversal season has expired. Let me tell you about Job, This man lost everything at the height of his success. His children, his wealth, his health, his reputation. He sat on an ash heap, scraping his sores with broken pottery, while his own wife told him to curse God and die. Job 42:10 declares, "And the Lord turned the captivity of Job when he prayed for his friends. Also the Lord gave Job twice as much as he had before." Twice as much. Not just restoration, multiplication, not just recovery, overflow. The man who lost everything received double everything. Your double portion is already signed, sealed, and on its way. But perhaps you think you're too old for God to use. Let me introduce you to Anna the prophetess. Luke 2:36-37 tells us she was 84 years old, widowed after only 7 years of marriage, spending day and night in the temple in prayer and fasting. For 77 years she waited. For 77 years she prayed. For 77 years she believed. And then one ordinary Tuesday morning, Mary and Joseph walked through those temple doors carrying baby Jesus. Anna didn't just see a baby, she saw the redemption of Israel. At 84 years old, she became the first female evangelist, proclaiming Christ to everyone who looked for redemption in Jerusalem. Your moment of recognition is closer than you think. Do you understand what's happening here? These weren't random success stories, these were divine reversals, supernatural plot twists. Heaven's way of saying, when I move, I don't just change circumstances, I rewrite history. But let me ask you something that's going to cut deep. What if every betrayal you've endured was actually positioning? What if every door that slammed in your face was protecting you from settling for less than God's best? What if every financial collapse was clearing the ground for a supernatural breakthrough? You've been betrayed, haven't you? By people you trusted most. Your business partner who stole your life savings. Your spouse who walked away after 40 years. Your children who moved across the country and forgot your birthday. You didn't just lose money, you lost faith in humanity. But what if I told you that betrayal was not your breakdown, but your breakthrough in disguise? Joseph's brothers meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. Their betrayal didn't destroy Joseph's destiny, it positioned him for it. Your betrayers didn't ruin your future, they redirected you toward it. And what about that crushing loneliness? Those holidays you spent alone, those anniversaries marked by silence instead of celebration, those nights when the phone never rings and the house echoes with emptiness, the enemy whispers, "This is your portion now," invisible, forgotten, irrelevant. But Anna was alone for 77 years, and her loneliness became her strength. In the silence she heard God's voice. In the solitude she built intimacy with the Almighty. Her isolation wasn't abandonment, it was preparation for the greatest moment in human history. Your loneliness has been your classroom. And that financial collapse that left you choosing between medication and groceries, that bankruptcy that destroyed your credit, that foreclosure that stole your home, the world calls it failure, but heaven calls it freedom. Freedom from trusting in systems that were always designed to crumble. Freedom from depending on institutions that were never meant to be your source. Job lost his wealth so he could discover that God was his treasure. You lost your security so you could find your Savior. Everything that was meant to bury you is about to bless you. September 23rd marks the moment when heaven says, "Enough, the setup is complete. The reversal begins now. Your pit is becoming your platform. Your prison is becoming your palace. Your pain is becoming your power. The very people who counted you out are about to count you back in. The doors that were slammed shut are about to swing wide open. The opportunities that passed you by are about to circle back around." Type divine reversal if you're claiming your turnaround. Don't just read these words, declare them. Your voice carries authority, and when you speak your reversal into existence, heaven moves. But here's what most people don't understand about divine reversals. They don't just restore what you lost. They elevate you beyond what you ever imagined possible. Listen to me carefully. Chosen one. For decades, maybe your entire lifetime, you've been the best-kept secret in heaven's vault. While others received applause, you received assignments. While they got recognition, you got refinement. While the world celebrated their achievements, God was crafting something in you so rare, so precious, that it could only be revealed at the perfect moment. That moment is September 23rd. You've been like a diamond buried deep in the earth, haven't you? Hidden under layers of disappointment, covered by seasons of struggle, concealed beneath circumstances that made you question your worth. But here's what the enemy never wanted you to discover. Diamonds aren't buried to be forgotten. They're buried to be perfected under pressure. And today, beloved, that diamond is being lifted into the light of a crown. Do you remember how it felt when your own children stopped calling? When your lifelong friends grew distant? When you walked into rooms and felt invisible, like you were taking up space that belonged to someone else? The world taught you to believe that invisibility meant irrelevance, that being overlooked meant being worthless. They lied. Your hiddenness wasn't punishment, it was preparation. God wasn't ignoring you. He was incubating something inside you that this generation desperately needs. Every moment you felt forgotten, heaven was taking notes. Every tear you cried in silence, the Almighty was collecting in bottles. Every prayer you whispered when hope felt dead, the throne room was recording for this exact moment. Psalm 23:5 declares something that will shake you to your core. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Do you understand what that means? It means your vindication won't happen in private. Your elevation won't occur in a corner. When God decides to showcase his chosen ones, he does it where everyone can see. This is why people who ignored you will suddenly be drawn to your presence. Have you noticed it starting already? That unexplainable shift in how others respond to you. That subtle change in atmosphere when you enter a room. Something is different about you, and people can sense it even if they can't name it. That's not your imagination, dear one. That's the light of divine favor beginning to radiate from your very being. But let me ask you something that might cut deep. How long have you been apologizing for taking up space? How many times have you dimmed your light because others complained it was too bright? How often have you shrunk back from speaking truth because someone might be offended by your wisdom? No more. September 23rd marks the end of your season of hiding and the beginning of your season of shining. The diamond that was buried is now being lifted into the light of a crown, and when God places that crown on your head, every knee will bow not to you, but to the God who lives within you. Think about Moses. For 40 years he was hidden in the wilderness, tending sheep while his people suffered in bondage, forgotten, invisible. A has-been who'd blown his chance at greatness. But when God was ready to deliver Israel, he didn't choose someone from Pharaoh's court. He chose the hidden one, the forgotten one, the one who'd been refined in the wilderness until his character could match his calling. And when Moses finally stood before Pharaoh, the Bible says his face shone so brightly that the Israelites couldn't look at him directly. Exodus 34:30 tells us, when Aaron and all the Israelites saw Moses, his face was radiant, and they were afraid to come near him. That's what happens when someone emerges from their season of hiddenness, carrying the glory of God. Your face is about to shine, chosen one, not with makeup or surgery or artificial enhancement, but with the uncontainable radiance of someone who's been in the presence of the Almighty during their darkest hours and emerged carrying his light. But here's what's going to shock you. The very people who made you feel invisible are about to see you more clearly than anyone else. Those who dismissed you will suddenly seek your counsel. Those who overlooked you will find themselves inexplicably drawn to your presence. Those who counted you out will watch in stunned silence as God counts you in. This isn't about revenge, beloved. This is about revelation. Heaven is about to reveal what was always there but had been hidden until the perfect time. Your grandchildren who barely noticed you before will suddenly want to spend hours listening to your stories. Your neighbors who used to rush past you will find reasons to linger in conversation. Strangers will approach you with testimonies about how your mere presence brought them peace they couldn't explain. On September 23rd, your light cannot be denied. Isaiah 60:1 prophesies this moment. Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you. Notice it doesn't say your light will come. It says your light has come. Present tense. Already here. Already activated. Already beginning to transform everything around you. But this visible favor comes with a warning. You can no longer hide. You can no longer play small. You can no longer apologize for the God-given radiance that flows through your very being. When heaven decides to showcase its chosen ones, mediocrity is no longer an option. The table that God is preparing for you isn't just a blessing, it's a billboard. It's His way of announcing to every force that tried to diminish you, "Touch not my anointed." It's His declaration to everyone who wrote you off. "I'm not finished with this one yet." Your season of visible favor isn't just about personal elevation, it's about prophetic demonstration. God is using your life as proof that He still promotes the overlooked, still elevates the forgotten, still shines His light through vessels the world considers too old, too ordinary, too broken to carry His glory. If you feel that light rising, if something inside you is beginning to burn brighter than it has in years, comment, "I shine now." Because, dear one, your diamond days are over. Your crown season has begun. And the light that's about to burst forth from your life will leave the world wondering, where has this person been hiding? And what else is God preparing to reveal? Listen to me carefully, chosen one. You've been living in the most brutal day of the week. Not Monday with its demanding responsibilities. Not Friday with its deadlines. You've been trapped in Saturday, the day between death and resurrection, the day between what was crucified and what's about to rise. Do you know what Saturday feels like? It feels like staring at your phone, waiting for your grown children to call. It feels like sitting in a house that once echoed with laughter, now silent as a tomb. It feels like watching your bank account shrink while your medical bills multiply. Saturday is the day when everything you built seems buried, and you can't see Sunday coming. You know exactly what I'm talking about, don't you? That hollow ache in your chest when you wake up at 3 a.m. and remember that your spouse's side of the bed is permanently empty. That crushing weight when you realize your grandchildren know their phones better than they know your voice. That suffocating fear when you calculate how many months your savings will last. Saturday is the day of divine silence. But here's what they don't tell you about Saturday in Sunday school. Here's what your pastor never preached about the space between Good Friday and Easter morning. Saturday wasn't a mistake. Saturday wasn't God taking a coffee break. Saturday was strategy. Think about this. Jesus didn't rise on Friday night when the adrenaline was still pumping. He didn't resurrect Saturday morning when the disciples were still processing their grief. He waited until Sunday. Why? Because resurrection requires Saturday. The silence was not absence, it was strategy. Every single person watching this has been living in their own Saturday season. Maybe it started when the divorce papers were signed and half your life walked out the door. Maybe it began when the company you gave 37 years to handed you a gold watch and showed you the exit. Maybe it commenced when the doctor used words like chronic and progressive and manage your expectations. Saturday is when everything looks finished. Saturday is when hope feels foolish. Saturday is when even your prayers echo back empty. But I need you to understand something that will shatter every lie the enemy has whispered in your ear during these Saturday seasons. The silence you've been enduring isn't evidence that God has forgotten you. The stillness isn't proof that your story is over. The quiet isn't confirmation that your prayers have been ignored. Saturday, silence is resurrection preparation. You see, the disciples thought it was over. They thought the dream died with Jesus on that cross. They thought 3 years of miracles ended in a tomb. But what they couldn't see in their Saturday was that Sunday was already in motion. While they grieved, angels were getting ready. While they mourned, heaven was mobilizing. While they buried their hope, God was preparing to bury death itself. Your Saturday has felt endless, hasn't it? That diagnosis, that betrayal, that financial collapse, that family rejection. That season when everyone you trusted walked away and left you alone with your questions. You've been asking God, where are you? Why won't you speak? Why won't you move? The silence was not absence, it was strategy. Listen to what Psalm 30:5 declares with thunderous authority. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. Do you hear that? Weeping may endure. It doesn't say weeping might happen or weeping could occur. It says weeping may endure. Present tense. Active voice. Your tears have an expiration date. But here's what breaks my heart about Saturday seasons. Here's what makes me want to reach through this screen and shake you by the shoulders. You've been living like Saturday is permanent. You've been acting like the silence will never break. You've been believing that the emptiness is your new normal. Saturday is ending. Sunday is rising. Do you feel that? That shift in the atmosphere around your life? That's not your imagination. That's Saturday losing its grip. That's Sunday breaking through the darkness. That's resurrection power stirring in the silence. Every widow who's been eating dinner alone for the past 5 years needs to hear this. Every grandfather whose children have forgotten his birthday needs to understand this. Every senior citizen who's been told their best days are behind them needs to receive this word. Saturday is ending. Sunday is rising. The tomb that held Jesus wasn't just a grave. It was a launching pad. The silence wasn't defeat. It was the deep breath before the roar that would shake hell's foundations. And your Saturday, all those months and years of feeling forgotten, overlooked, left behind, it wasn't your ending. It was your setup. Here's what's about to happen in your life, and I need you to prepare yourself for this. The same power that rolled away a 2-ton stone on Sunday morning is about to roll away every obstacle that's been blocking your breakthrough. The same voice that called Lazarus, "Come forth," is about to call your name. The same breath that raised Jesus from the dead is about to breathe new life into your dried bones. Saturday is ending, Sunday is rising, but you have to believe it. You have to declare it. You have to stop mourning what died and start preparing for what's about to be resurrected. Write, "My Sunday is coming" in the comments right now. Don't wait. Don't hesitate. Don't let another Saturday moment pass without declaring that your resurrection is already in motion. Because, chosen one, you are not living in a Saturday story. You are living in a Sunday testimony that the world is about to witness. Listen to me, chosen one. You've been sitting in that same chair, staring at the same bills, wondering if this is all their island. You've calculated your social security down to the last penny. You've rationed your medications. You've eaten beans and rice more nights than you care to count. And deep in your chest, there's a terror you won't speak out loud, the fear that you're running out of time. But what if I told you that everything you think you know about your remaining years is a lie? What if I told you that September 23rd marks the moment when God stops restoring your years and starts multiplying them? Ezekiel 47:5 speaks of waters that were ankle-deep, then knee-deep, then waist-deep, until they became a river that could not be crossed. That's what's happening to your life right now. You've been standing in ankle-deep blessings, thinking that's all their island. But beloved, the floodgates are cracking open. You see, abundance in God's kingdom doesn't trickle. It doesn't seep. It doesn't gradually increase by 2% annually, like some pathetic retirement account. When heaven decides to pour, it pours like Niagara Falls, 130,000 gallons per second, thundering with such force that the earth trembles beneath its power. And that's what's about to hit your life. But here's what will shock you to your core. God isn't just restoring what you lost in 2008. He isn't just replacing what was stolen in your divorce. He isn't just healing what broke when your spouse passed away. No, beloved, restoration is too small for what's coming. Joel 2:25 promises, I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten. But look deeper. The Hebrew word for restore is shalom. It means to pay back sevenfold, not equal compensation. Supernatural multiplication. That $30,000 you lost in that bad investment. God's math doesn't work like Wall Street's math. That relationship that shattered your heart. Divine love doesn't follow human patterns. That health report that terrified you. The great physician doesn't practice limited medicine. Right now, as I speak these words, there are supernatural transactions happening in the heavenly realm. Bank accounts being credited that you haven't even opened yet. Relationships being restored that you thought were dead and buried. Healing flowing through your bloodstream that will make your doctor's jaw drop. But here's the mystery that will revolutionize everything. Abundance doesn't just come to you. It comes through you. You think God wants to bless you so you can finally relax? So you can cruise the Caribbean and forget about the world's pain? No. He's positioning you to become a river of blessing that flows to everyone around you. Your grandchildren who think college is impossible, your neighbor who's choosing between groceries and prescriptions, your church that's struggling to keep the lights on. Malachi 3:10 declares, Bring the whole tithe into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house. Test me in this, says the Lord Almighty, and see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing that there will not be room enough to store it. Did you catch that? Not room enough to store it. Because abundance that can be contained isn't biblical abundance. True abundance overflows. It spills. It creates rivers that water entire communities. Your garage sales are about to become blessing distributions. Your dinner table is about to become a counseling center. Your phone is about to ring with people desperate for the wisdom only suffering can teach. But you have to make a choice right now. You can stay in the shallow end, ankle deep in your familiar struggles, or you can step into the deep waters where miracles swim. The fear says you're too old. The doubt says you're too broken. The enemy says you're too late. But September 23rd is God's declaration that his timeline doesn't follow earthly mathematics. Moses was 80 when God gave him his greatest assignment. Sarah was 90 when she birthed nations. Caleb was 85 when he said, Give me this mountain. Your abundance doesn't have an expiration date. Your calling doesn't retire when you do. If you can receive this, if your spirit is leaping right now, then type these words in the comments. I am stepping into overflow. Because, beloved, the shallow end is about to become the deep end, and everything you've been waiting for is about to pour. Listen to me, chosen one. What I'm about to reveal will shake you to your very foundation. You think you're just getting older, don't you? You think your best years are behind you. You think your purpose expired with your last paycheck. That's the biggest lie the enemy ever whispered in your ear. You are not the end of the line. You are the beginning of the breakthrough. Look at your hands right now. Really look at them. Those weathered fingers, those age spots, those lines carved by decades of struggle. The world sees weakness, but heaven sees weapons. Every wrinkle is a victory. Every scar is a story. Every gray hair is a crown of glory, earned through battles that would have destroyed lesser souls. But here's what will shock you to your core. You weren't chosen to fade quietly into the background. You were chosen to be the bridge between the prayers of your grandmother and the dreams of your grandchildren. Your grandmother, do you remember her? Maybe she worked her fingers to the bone, washing clothes for white folks, cleaning houses until her knees gave out. Maybe she prayed over you when you were just a baby, whispering words into the darkness. Lord, let this child break the chains. Let this family know your goodness. She died believing those prayers fell on deaf ears. But they didn't. They fell on God's heart. And they've been marinating in heaven's prayer bowl for 70 years, accumulating compound interest, building spiritual momentum, waiting for this exact moment when you would finally understand why you survived everything that should have killed you. Ecclesiastes 3:1 declares, To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven. Your season isn't ending, beloved. Your season is just beginning. Because generational deliverance doesn't come through the young and untested. It comes through the scarred and seasoned. You think your financial struggles disqualify you. Your health battles make you irrelevant. Your family dysfunction makes you unworthy. No, those battles were boot camp. That pain was preparation. That pressure was positioning you to become the generational game changer your bloodline has been praying for. Why do you think the warfare against seniors has been so intense? The depression that hits after retirement. The loneliness that creeps in when children move away. The financial pressure that squeezes tighter each month. The health scares that make you feel vulnerable. That's not random suffering. That's targeted warfare against the very generation that carries the authority to break generational curses and establish generational blessings. The enemy knows something about you that you're just now discovering. You are the hinge point of history. The pivot between the prayers of the past and the promises of the future. Think about Moses, 80 years old when God called him to deliver an entire nation. 80. While his contemporaries were sitting in rocking chairs, Moses was standing before Pharaoh, demanding freedom for 2 million slaves. Why? Because some assignments require the wisdom that only comes from 8 decades of walking with God. Consider Sarah, 90 years old when she birthed the promise. 90. Her womb was dead, but her faith was alive. And that dead womb became the doorway through which nations would be born. Genesis 21:1 records, "And the Lord visited Sarah, as he had said, visited." Past tense. God had been planning Sarah's miracle before she knew she needed one. Right now, God is visiting you the same way. Not because you're young and strong, but because you're mature and tested. Not because you have unlimited energy, but because you have unlimited faith. You want to know why your grandchildren struggle with addiction? Because hell is trying to stop what God is about to do through your lineage. You want to know why your children can't seem to find their way? Because the enemy knows that when you step into your full authority, when you finally understand that your yes today is the answer to prayers whispered in 1952, everything changes. Your grandmother's tears weren't wasted. Your mother's midnight prayers weren't forgotten. Your own desperate cries during those dark seasons weren't ignored. They've all been building toward this moment when you would finally understand that you weren't chosen to be a victim of your circumstances. You were chosen to be the victory in your family's story. But here's the urgency that should grip your soul. You don't have forever to make this decision. The window of opportunity is narrow. The spiritual atmosphere that's allowing this generational reset won't stay open indefinitely. This is your moment. This is your September 23rd. This is your divine appointment with destiny. The same blood that flows through your veins flows through your grandchildren's veins. The same faith that sustained you through 70 years of struggle is the same faith that can break every chain, heal every wound, and establish every blessing your family has been waiting generations to receive. In Malachi 4-6, God promises, "And he shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to their fathers." That's not just poetry, that's prophecy. And you are the fulfillment of that prophecy. Your yes today doesn't just change your tomorrow. It rewrites your family's history. It breaks the cycles that have held your bloodline captive for generations. It establishes a legacy that will echo through eternity. The question burning in heaven right now is this: will you step into your role as the generational deliverer? Or will you let this moment pass by believing the lie that you're too old, too tired, too broken to matter? Because someone in your family tree is waiting for you to say yes. Someone you may never meet is depending on your obedience today. The breakthrough they've been praying for is locked inside your surrender. If you can feel the weight of legacy on your shoulders, if you understand that your story isn't just about you, but about every descendant who will carry your DNA, then declare it now. Don't wait. Don't hesitate. Don't let fear rob your lineage of the miracle that's been 3 generations in the making. But what happens when a senior citizen finally steps into their role as the family's spiritual anchor? What occurs when prayers whispered by grandmothers in 1952 finally find their answer in 2024? Beloved, chosen one, as we reach the end of this sacred journey together, I need you to remember 3 eternal truths that will anchor your soul in the storms ahead. First, September 23rd isn't just a date on your calendar, it's your divine reset button, the stirring you feel in your spirit right now, that restless knowing that something is shifting, isn't your imagination. It's heaven confirming that your season of waiting is over and your time of walking in abundance has begun. Second, you are not too old, too late, or too forgotten. You are precisely positioned by the Almighty for such a time as this. Every gray hair is a crown of wisdom. Every wrinkle tells a story of endurance. Every scar bears witness to your survival. You are the bridge between the prayers of your ancestors and the promises waiting for your descendants. Third, your struggles were never punishment, they were preparation. The financial pressures, the health battles, the family dysfunction, the loneliness that visits you at 3 a.m., all of it was shaping you into the generational deliverer your bloodline has been praying for. Your pain has been transformed into purpose, your mess into your message, your test into your testimony. But hear me clearly, dear one. You are not walking this path alone. Even when your children are too busy to call, even when your friends have moved to warmer climates or gone home to glory, even when your spouse's chair sits empty and silent, the God who called you by name before you took your first breath is still working in your life. Romans 8:28 isn't just a verse, it's your life story. And we know that all things work together for good, to them that love God, to them who are the called according to his purpose. You have a community right here, right now. Thousands of seniors across this nation who understand your journey because they're walking the same narrow road. We see you. We hear you. We believe in the calling on your life. When the world tries to make you invisible, this family reminds you that you are seen by heaven and valued beyond measure. Let me ask you this final question, and let it settle deep in your spirit. If God has brought you this far through every valley, every storm, every season that tried to break you, why would he abandon you now, at the threshold of your greatest breakthrough? Before you leave this sacred space, I want to pray over you. Wherever you are in your living room, your bedroom, your kitchen, I want you to know that the hand of the Almighty is upon you right now. Heavenly Father, I place my hand on the shoulder of every precious soul hearing these words. Lord, you see their hearts tonight. You know the battles they've fought in silence, the tears they've cried when no one was watching, the prayers they've whispered when hope seemed impossible. But Father, you also see their future. You see the breakthrough that's already in motion, the abundance that's already released, the reset that's already begun. I pray over their finances tonight, Lord. Where there has been lack, release provision. Where there have been closed doors, open windows of opportunity that no man can shut. Give them wisdom to steward the blessings that are coming, humility to remember where their help comes from, and boldness to step into the authority you've given them. I pray over their health, Father. Strengthen their bodies, renew their minds, restore their energy. Let them feel your healing power flowing through every cell, every organ, every system. Where doctors have given up, you are just getting started. I pray over their families, Lord. Heal the broken relationships, restore the prodigal children, mend the marriages that seem beyond repair. Let this generation become the turning point where generational curses are broken and generational blessings are established. Most of all, Father, let them feel your presence right now. Let them know in their spirit that they are loved beyond measure, chosen beyond doubt, and destined for greatness beyond their wildest dreams. Remove every lie of the enemy that says they're too old, too late, too forgotten. Replace those lies with your truth. They are fearfully and wonderfully made, called according to your purpose, and positioned for their finest hour. In the mighty name of Jesus, who holds their future in his nail-scarred hands, I seal this prayer. Let your will be done in their lives. Amen. Now, I want you to share what God has stirred in your heart tonight. In the comments below, tell us how this message has impacted your spirit. What dreams is God rekindling? What promises is He confirming? What fears is He dissolving? Don't hold back. Your testimony might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to take their next step of faith. If you felt the weight of generational calling on your shoulders tonight, type, "It ends with me. It begins with me." Let heaven take notice that you're ready to step into your role as the family's spiritual anchor. And please, share this message with someone who needs to hear it. There's a senior citizen in your circle, maybe a neighbor, a church member, a family friend who's been feeling forgotten, overlooked, past their prime. They need to know that their September 23rd has arrived, that their reset is here, that their finest chapter is just beginning. Thank you for staying with me through this entire journey. Thank you for opening your heart, for allowing these words to penetrate the sacred chambers of your soul. Your time is precious, and you chose to invest it in seeking God's heart for your life. That tells me everything I need to know about your character and your calling. If this is your first time here, welcome to the family. Hit that subscribe button and join thousands of believers who gather here regularly to be encouraged, equipped, and empowered for kingdom living. We're building something beautiful together, a community where faith grows, hope is restored, and destinies are fulfilled. Remember, beloved, September 23rd isn't just a date. It's your divine appointment with abundance. Your reset isn't coming, it's here. Your breakthrough isn't someday, it's today. Until we meet again, walk in the authority of who you are. You are chosen. You are loved. You are never alone. God bless you, chosen one. Your new era begins now.